Hello, my royal lovelies. Welcome back to the channel, and as always, welcome to my home. I have two stories that I want to talk about today. The one I was going to make a separate video of, and the other thing just happened. So we have some breaking news about Princess Anne. She fell off her horse. We'll talk about that. And also today is the Japanese state visit, the first day of that. So I'm going to do a combined video. I hope you don't mind, because these are two stories that I want to get out. A little comment about the British weather. It is sweltering today. We Brits, it's a national pastime to complain about the weather. Either it's too cold or it's too rainy, and now it's too hot. So this really is sweat. It's not glow, it is sweat. I am sweltering today. Anyway, we don't have aircon in the UK. We do in public buildings, supermarkets, shopping centres, but in homes, in private homes, we rarely have aircon because we rarely have a need for it. But on the times that we do, we just sweat. Anyway, so if you see me perspiring, you know why. At the time of making this video, we haven't had the state banquet. So I can't wait for the next video when I can talk about what tiaras have been worn, who attended, all the officials, blah, blah, blah. But for now, we just need to talk about the arrivals. So let's go back a little bit and touch on King Charles's cancer diagnosis. So a few months ago, we were sort of talking about whether or not this would even go ahead. Would King Charles be able to take full part as he is today? So we are really, really grateful for that. Or whether or not it would have been cancelled anyway because of the early general election that is going on in the UK. So the palace took a very unusual step when the general election was announced. Like I said, it was called early by the sitting government and the current Prime Minister. So the unusual step was that the palace made an announcement stating that they would be cancelling some engagements, their normal programme of engagement, so as not to kind of overshadow or sort of conflict with the election campaign. So the Japanese state visit was one of those that was in question. I said in one of my videos back then that I thought this is something that would go ahead. I was right. I love being proved right. I love being able to say, I told you so. When many people were saying it would not go ahead, I said, hang on a minute. These visits take so much planning and organisation, and they are so important for relations between countries. This will have been, on the cards for a couple of years and would have taken up to 12 months to organise. This is the full, estate pomp and pageantry and welcome. It's so important for bilateral relationships. And of course, the system that we have with a constitutional monarchy, it has that family element to it as well. And of course, the British royal family has connections all across Europe, all the way around the world. It really helps. Rather than just sending politicians or having politicians welcome foreign dignitaries or rulers or emperors in this case, it really does help having that personal family touch. It's like someone extending a welcome to your home. So it really is important. And with everything that's going on in the world right now, Britain, like most countries, need really good links in that region. So it was really important politically. But there was a question about whether or not it would overshadow the general election. I think in the UK, people are a little bit election saturated at the moment. So this is actually quite welcome. And I thought to myself, no, this is going to go ahead because of all of the intense planning, the importance of it. I think this will go ahead. It has. So the Emperor and Empress of Japan have been here, I think, a couple of days now. They have been undergoing their own private programme of engagements without it sort of being public. But today is the official welcome to the country. So they are staying in a rather swanky hotel in London. Prince William, the Prince of Wales, greeted them there, had a very short meeting. I think there was a little press call, but I think the press referred to it as a grab and go type photo shoot. There's a quick sort of meet and greet photo shoot, and then everyone's off. So it was William's duty to escort the Emperor and Empress by car, not carriage, by car this time, to Horse Guards Parade, where the King and Queen and some politicians and other British dignitaries are waiting to receive them formally. Now, the procession was 8 minutes late. You could see King Charles and Queen Camilla sort of tapping, looking at their watches and tapping, because things normally run in the UK on these sorts of events to military precision. But there was some kind of hold up. I don't know if it was from the Japanese end or whether it was London traffic, but there was a hold up. Anyway, 8 minutes late, and the king would not have liked waiting in the sun. He's not as bad in terms of travel and heat as Queen Camilla. She does not like the heat, but he wouldn't have liked or enjoyed standing around in that heat in a suit. And I can tell you for now, it is so hot today. I do not envy any of them in suits all trussed up, and the military in their uniforms, they will be absolutely sweltering. So I do not envy them at all. So Prince William got the Emperor and Empress there in time. And of course the King and the Queen did a meet and greet. The current Prime Minister was there. An ex-Prime Minister was there, David Cameron. And all the formal introductions were done. This time, because of the election there, it is a stripped back state visit. Not from the royal side, from the political side. So I suppose it's a sensitive time, and maybe in other nations during elections, if there are state dignitaries, the current government would be sort of full front and centre. But in the UK, there's codes of conduct, and it would be seen as perhaps unfair or undue influence for the current government to be full front and centre. So it is very much left to the royal family to pick up that slack. But the royal family elements have not been stripped back. Normally, the Emperor and Empress would go to Downing Street, meet the Prime Minister. That's not happening. But all the royal elements are going ahead. The state banquet later is going ahead at Buckingham Palace. There is a royal lunch that's going on. So I think round about now, the Emperor and Empress will be with Queen Camilla and King Charles, and they'll be having lunch. In fact, I think I've got the itinerary for today, and then the state visit will last about 48 hours. So if I just scoot all the way down, following the lunch given by the King, His Majesty will invite the Emperor and Empress to view a special exhibition in the picture gallery of items from the royal collection relating to Japan. So the palace holds lots of artifacts and gift exchanges that go on from previous state visits or whatever. And they will be brought out, and they'll spend some time going around them, talking about them. In the afternoon, the Emperor and Empress will visit Westminster Abbey, where His Majesty will lay a wreath at the grave of the unknown warrior. Then this evening, the King, accompanied by Queen Camilla and senior members of the royal family, will hold a glittering state banquet at Buckingham Palace in his guests' honour, attended by senior figures from both countries and politicians. Speeches will be made by the King and the Emperor at the start. So we've seen this in the previous reign, Queen Elizabeth doing speeches. The microphone is hidden in the floral display. So it'll be good to see how King Charles does this. Now, Catherine, the Princess of Wales, is not expected to be there. I think some people thought that she might turn up for the banquet. Highly doubtful. I think the palace has pretty much confirmed that she will not be attending the banquet. She may turn up at some point for Wimbledon or something of that nature. And as I said in the previous video, they'll be sort of starting their summer holidays very soon. And I think the King and Queen Camilla and William and Catherine and the whole Wales family will be laying low. It's sort of 6-7 weeks of being able to not have any engagements, to really relax. I think the Waleses will probably have an extended stay at Balmoral. So yeah, I think everything will be extremely low-key. So following the introductions, there was a carriage ride back to the palace for that lunch. And so this time horses were involved. So you may have seen the pictures of the Empress wearing a white face mask to match the outfit. And this is because she is allergic to horsehair. So if you're wondering what it wasn't anything to do with the coronavirus or any pollution or anything. It wasn't anything to do with that. It was horsehair allergy. When they reached the palace in the quadrangle, there was a guard of honour from the 1st Battalion Welsh Guards in their scarlet tunics. They looked so smart, and their huge bearskin hats. Now, as I said, it would have been absolutely sweltering there, so do not underestimate the resilience and dedication of these military personnel. Lined up in formation amid the 27°C summer heat. A dismounted detachment of household cavalry stood either side of the grand entrance. Prince William, the Prince of Wales, travelled in the 3rd carriage, a semi-state landau. So this is all still going ahead. Now, I think the king is taking solace in his work. He just likes normality. So in terms of the king's cancer recovery, getting back to normal as quickly as possible, doing as much work as he possibly physically can, is going to help his mental health. Queen Camilla has already made comments about, that he is a tireless workhorse and will not do as he is told. But of course, everything has to be with the consent of his doctors, because he is having to ask them, is it okay to do this? Is it okay to do that? They've obviously decided that today was okay. And of course, the king is so dutiful that he wants to be there. He wants to do it. Now, there has been talk that there was one sort of foreign visit that was cancelled. Now, they haven't said what it was, but one, I think, was cancelled due to the king's ongoing cancer treatment and recovery. But the one that we're all looking forward to is Australia, sort of that region. There was talk about New Zealand as well. The Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting is taking place. So, of course, the king wants to be there. It will be his first one as sovereign and head of the Commonwealth. He has represented his late mother previously, but he hasn't done it as sovereign himself. So I think he desperately will want to be there. Whether or not he will be allowed by his doctors is anyone's guess, but I can imagine, even if it's stripped back somewhat, I think there will be some kind of visit going ahead in the autumn. So watch this space. Right, so now we are talking about Princess Anne. So last night, after I made the previous video, shocking news came out that Princess Anne had been taken to a nearby hospital about 45 minutes away from her home of Gatcombe Park in Gloucestershire, which isn't a million miles away from where Prince Charles lives. It's a little bit further north. The details are a little bit sketchy around this, and Princess Anne herself doesn't even know exactly what happened. What we do know is that there was a statement put out by the palace confirming that the king and other family members had been informed that the Princess Royal, Princess Anne, had been taken to hospital following concussion from injuries to the head. Now, we do believe there are some physical injuries that resulted from either a headbutt by a horse or wounds or injuries inflicted by their hooves, probably rear hooves. Now, we know that Princess Anne has a huge sort of equestrian estate. Her Gatcombe Park home is 700 acres. It was a wedding gift from the Queen when she married her first husband. And, lots of the family still live there. Zara and Mike Tyndall have a property on the estate. So it is really a family home. So it's believed that she was out walking sort of in the evening, and she must have encountered horses. I don't know if she was feeding them or in a field or petting them, whatever. And bearing in mind, she is an experienced horsewoman. She was in the Olympics and she's had other horse-related injuries as well, which we'll look at in a moment. And she can't remember exactly what happened. So I think it must have happened very quickly in a bit of a flash. It could have been hind hooves, could have been a headbutt. Who knows what happened? She certainly doesn't. And I think, this is consistent that they don't know what happened. And also, I think that she was on her own as well, because if she hadn't have been out on her own, the people that were with her would have known exactly what happened, and therefore the palace would have had a more clear story. So it indicates to me that she was out walking alone. Now, she does have royal protection, so I'm not quite sure how long it would have been before she was found. Perhaps she was able to raise the alarm herself. Perhaps there was security not too far away. We have seen examples where the king himself has been up at Balmoral walking in Scotland, and he's the security has given him a bit of a wide berth so he can have some alone time. I imagine that's pretty similar with Princess Anne as well. So I wouldn't imagine it would have been long. Perhaps some of the family realised that she'd been gone a little bit too long and then went to find out. Anyway, they found her. So an air ambulance was called at, I think it was seen landing by neighbours at Gatcombe around about 9:30 p.m. So this is the evening time. But she wasn't airlifted to hospital. She made the journey by vehicle, potentially an ambulance, who knows. So she has had to cancel all of her engagements, no surprise. With concussion, you are advised to rest. So that includes the Japanese state visit of which she was due to attend. And also, she was due to go to Canada, and there are a few other engagements which we will look at. And she will hate to let people down. And of course, she's got to change her mindset. She's not letting people down. But lots of these events do take a lot of planning. So, she will not like this at all. The palace has said that she is conscious and comfortable and expected to make a full and swift recovery. And this is another reason why I think that Princess Anne was out on her own, because the palace officials have concluded a best working assumption of how Anne's injuries were sustained. So she didn't know, and there must not have been anybody else present at that moment. She's being treated at Southmead Hospital in Bristol, which is part of the North Bristol NHS Trust, so a regular hospital, a 45-minute or 30-mile drive from her Gloucestershire home. She's expected to be discharged later this week. It is the major trauma centre for the region, a sign of how serious the incident was treated. Her accident is the latest health concern to affect the royal family. And yes, another royal family member down. I think this totally puts the question in people's minds, do we need more working royal family members? I still think Beatrice and Eugenie would be extremely good and ready choices as long as they were willing to do so. So let's now take a look at Princess Anne's cancelled engagement. So this is, we hear a lot about how hardworking Princess Anne is, but when we actually look at her schedule, a programme of engagements, we really do get a sense of how grueling her schedule must be. So today she was supposed to be at the Commonwealth Agricultural Conference in Edinburgh. So that's Scotland, right? So bearing in mind the locations. Then in the evening, she was due to be back in London for the Japanese state banquet at Buckingham Palace. So you cannot do that distance that quickly by car or probably train. I imagine she would have had to have flown either by the royal flight or helicopter or something. I think she would definitely have had to travel that by air. Then the following day, she was supposed to be at a sailing club's renovated clubhouse opening in Hampshire. So that was one event. Then the Royal Lymington Yacht Club community sailing programme, again in Hampshire, so not too far away. Then in the evening, back up to Scotland, that would have required another flight for the Commonwealth Agricultural Conference dinner at the Royal Highland Showground in Edinburgh. Then Thursday, she would remain in Scotland for the Strathcarron Hospice visit. Then the Commonwealth Agricultural Conference Annual General Meeting in Edinburgh. Then Friday, the Special Injuries Association Charity Polo Day, back down in Gloucestershire. And then Sunday until Monday, she was due in Canada. So all of these events have been cancelled, postponed. I imagine the Canadian visit will go ahead, but later, because it takes so much planning. It really does. So, a lot of people will be like, oh, Oh, I can't believe it. But anyway, it probably will go ahead, but just it'll have to be changed. And I imagine it wouldn't be rescheduled within the next 6 months. So probably within the next 12 months, I imagine that visit will take place. So, locals said they saw the air ambulance land at around 9:15 p.m, as I've just said. One said, I thought, oh my goodness, I hope it's not Anne. The King, Queen, Prince of Wales and Anne's other siblings, the Duke of Edinburgh and the Duke of York, were all informed immediately. A spokesman also confirmed that on doctor's advice, Her Royal Highness's engagements for the week ahead will be postponed. And as I've just said, there were 8 engagements planned. A former press secretary said that Princess Anne will be livid at not being able to fulfill her commitments and loathes letting people down. Well, as I've said, she needs to change her mindset because she hasn't let people down. People will be a little disappointed, but she hasn't let people down because they know that it's a serious incident. And of course, Princess Anne has had other horse-related injuries previously. We'll just take a quick look at those. Back in April 1976, Anne was knocked unconscious and cracked a vertebrae when her horse fell at the Portman Horse Trials in Dorset. In 1964, Anne cracked a bone and her finger after getting it caught in a rain while riding at her school. And there were other ones as well. She lay unconscious after falling from her horse, which was rolled on top of her at the Portman Horse Trials in 1976. And there's a few pictures of that. In 1975, Anne was thrown into the River Avon when her horse Mardi Gras failed a jump. And in 1973, she had to withdraw from the European Eventing Championships being held in Kiev, Ukraine, after falling from her horse and landing on her face. In 1982, she ended up submerged in water after falling from her horse at the Badminton Horse Trials. And she also fell in a Toaster racecourse at the Toaster racecourse in 1983. And in 1981, she also took a tumble at the Burley Horse Trials. So she is no stranger to having injuries and incidents from the horse. If you can hear anything, my neighbour is strimming. I can't do anything about it. The power tools have been going off all over the place. Anyway, we wish Her Royal Highness a very, very, very speedy recovery. She will be itching to get back to her programme of engagements and will hate being laid up in hospital. Think the late Duke of Edinburgh, raring to get back to business. So thank you for watching this video. If you've enjoyed it, please give it a big old thumbs up. Don't forget to share on social media. And of course, do hit the bell so that you know whenever I upload a new video. So from me, mwah, to you all, and goodbye.